Hello, New York City middle school families. Maurice Frumkin, NYC Admission Solutions, back with you this week. Now that the SHSAT is over, we've got some tips for you. First of all, if you haven't yet registered for our special free webinar on November 12th at 7 o'clock, totally free, we're going to be talking about what you need to think about before turning in your high school application. So check out our Facebook page and the information at the bottom of the screen. So a few tips now that you're able to focus less on the SHSAT and more on the round one application and the round choices that you're going to be submitting pretty soon. Number one is, if you haven't started narrowing down your choices to, let's say, 15, 20, 25 choices, that's what you absolutely need to start doing. But on the other hand, if you have less than 12 choices already, I am absolutely encouraging you to expand your reach and to go beyond that, because the reality is, unless you're choosing as many choices as you possibly can on that round one application, you're not giving yourself necessarily the best chance possible of matching to one of your choices. So that's number one. Number two is pay close attention over the next couple months and few months to selection criteria, particularly for screen programs. If you're applying to screen programs or audition programs and you don't meet their criteria, whether it be an audition, an interview, a writing sample, a project, whatever the case may be, you will not be considered, plain and simple. So if you haven't yet followed up on what those criteria might be, whether it's scheduling the interview, writing the writing sample, doing the online project or portfolio, if you haven't done those things or looked into those things yet, now is the time. Because once that choice is on the application, unless you fulfill the school's criteria, you're wasting a choice. Super important. And then the final thing that we're going to be talking more in detail about over the next couple months are admissions priorities and admissions methods, and making sure that you're optimizing admissions priorities and methods on your high school application. So I'm going to talk more in detail about those items in the coming weeks. But for now, so the top three tips of this week. Number one, I would challenge you at this point to have a list of probably 15, 20, maybe even 25 choices, and with a goal to be narrowing those down to up to 12, but as many as you possibly are willing to consider once you turn in that round one application. So that's number one. Number two is selection criteria. Make sure that if you're applying to screened or audition programs, you know what the school is looking for and you meet those criteria. And you're preparing for writing samples and you're preparing for interviews and all the things that they're requiring to do the best you possibly can. And number three, admissions priorities and admissions methods. If you're not familiar with those terms yet, get a little bit more familiar with them. Watch our videos in the coming weeks, because once you're filling out that application, these are critical concepts to understand to optimize your chances of getting a match in round one of the process. So once again, register for our webinar on November 12th. This is Maurice Frumkin, NYC Admission Solutions. We'll be back again next week. Take care, everyone.